They got some great driving roads here, as you can see, with the Let's talk about this 2011 MazdaSpeed3. This car is in a beautiful gray color with some gray wheels. I mean, I should say silver because that's what it really is, and that sounds better. This is my my friend Frank's car. He bought it about 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to go over some exterior features with you guys about this beautiful car. Starting up in the front, you've got a hood scoop, which you literally can't make a car look bad if it has a hood scoop. You've got this very unique grille that was developed in the 2010s era from Mazda. They wanted to get a grille that all of their cars would have to instantly recognize that car as a Mazda. It fell through because most people didn't like it, but I think looking back on these cars, it didn't look that bad. Personally, I think it adds character to the car. It looks a bit friendly. It's almost like a car that's friendly, but has an aggressive interior, if you know what I mean. I mean, this thing gets under 6 seconds, 0 to 60 in the high fives and mid fives if you're a good driver. A cool feature to talk about with the headlights, this little housing here, when you steer the wheel, it follows where you steer. So that's cool, especially for a car that was designed in the late 2000s, actually, like 2009 or 10-ish is when this car would have been designed. Moving on to the back of the car, because the side section of the car, I mean, it is just a MazdaSpeed3, which is a derivative of the Mazda 3. Looking at the back of the car, you've got twin exhausts. Really adds to the sporty look of the car, along with the badging MazdaSpeed3. And you got some clear housed tail lights here. It looks like a lot of these that I've seen actually have a red housing on the inside here, but his don't. So I don't know if that's aftermarket or not, but the point being they're clear instead of red, which in my opinion looks really good. You got a locking button right here, and you've got an unlock, and you got an open button for the trunk. If we open the trunk, yeah, he's got a pretty big subwoofer in his trunk. I mean, this car stock, and if you were to buy a car like this, not gonna have this in the back. You got a pretty average amount of space, I'd say, for a hot hatch. But this definitely adds some punch to the sound, I will say that. Moving on to the interior of the car, you get a sneak peek at the front, but for now, I'm actually have us move to the back here. You've got some moderately bolstered seats back here. It's a pretty basic interior, to be honest with you. I'm about 5'10". This is a pretty good legroom for me. This is assuming there's another 5'10" driver ahead of me. I will admit, if you're a little bit on the taller side, you're gonna have a little bit of an issue fitting back here. This is housing a 6'4" human being, and as you can see, there's not that much space. Speaking of the seat though, it does have a pocket. The seat does not have a pocket. And other than that, pretty basic. You get this beautiful red stitching, you know, along the edges of your seats here, and then you got this nice MazdaSpeed pattern. And right here, you got your cup holders for those McDonald's runs. Moving into the front of the car, if I close the door here, you've got some pretty interesting quirks and features when compared to the economy version of this car. We got a 6-speed manual. It only came in 6-speed manual. There was no option for an automatic in this car. Of course, the base Mazda 3s did have an option for a manual or an automatic, but if you're getting a manual Mazda 3, you might as well get the Speed 3. It's just cooler. If we turn the car on here, I'm gonna show you a couple things. First of all, Bose sound system. And typically when you turn this car on, although it is not a cold start, so it's not showing me, it'll say zoom zoom right here, and that's a pretty cool touch. That's their catchphrase for the MazdaSpeed development team, I should say. Pretty basic steering wheel here with typical Mazda styling. You got a very pointy steering wheel, and it says MazdaSpeed right there in the gauge cluster, which I think is a great touch. A main difference between this gauge cluster and the normal gauge cluster in a Mazda 3 is the center turbo gauge. We're running about 97,000 miles, and turbo has no issues. Car itself has no issues. It was made in conjunction with Ford. You basically have the predecessor to the EcoBoost engines in this car, which I thought was pretty interesting, considering I just bought a Focus ST. They have a shared block, which is funny enough. You got pretty bolstered seats, keep you in on those corners. You got these beautiful MazdaSpeed3 mats, just to remind you, you're in a MazdaSpeed3 and not the boring one. That's a Bose sound system speaker, and you've got a pretty big glove compartment, I will say. Another thing I'll mention, of course, as you might have noticed, you've got this beautiful red pattern all over the car. You've got it on the dash, you've got it on the seats, you've got it everywhere, and then you got this red stitching that follows the theme very well. When you don't get a screen in this car, you get this center console right here with a bunch of buttons. And what's cool about these buttons is when you touch them, they kind of like glow at you. That's pretty cool if you ask me. This one's not doing it right now because the radio's not on, but I will input a video in the background showing you how that works. Moving on to the top of the dashboard here, we've got your average fuel economy and average speed. This car gets about 1825, but he's proven to get a little bit better, although I think this MPG counter might be defective because it has shown some crazy numbers that I know this car is not getting. No offense. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up for the interior. I say we go give it a drive. I'm here with the owner of the Speed 3. This is Michael Frank, owner of Frank Shaft YouTube channel.
Same plug again.
Same plug. This is in the last video too.
Yeah.
Driving his car, so I better not mess up, huh? So when this car first came out, first owner would have paid in the ballpark of $25,000 for this car, which, to be honest with you, is not that bad considering what you're getting. I mean, that is $25,000 in 2011, which is a little bit steep, but I mean, I would do it. I'd buy it. If I saw this roll out after seeing what the first gen looked like, I mean, I would buy it.
Honestly, it's pretty good features too, because it's got the adaptive front lighting system. They turn when you turn the wheels. Great
Yeah, it's pretty
sensors,
cool.
Bluetooth.
You picked this car up for how much?
$9,200.
Damn. Yeah, no, $9,200 coming down from 25 grand in 2011. That's a pretty big difference, you know.
And it's pretty low mileage, completely unmodified, clean title.
I've also just now started driving manual again. I bought my car 4 days ago, so I'm still pretty rusty. So I apologize in advance for that. Now that I've gotten back into manual after years of not driving it, I mean, I learned on a manual. That's about the only experience I've had. I gotta say, this car handles amazing. I mean, all the YouTube videos you'll watch about people just like absolutely praising the suspension and the handling characteristics of this car, they're not wrong, and that's coming from a pretty unbiased source. I think that the Focus ST, which is a major competitor to this car, and it's the car I bought, I think it has pretty comparable suspension, but this just feels more raw to me. I feel every little disgruntled attitude that the road gives this car throughout a corner, and I think that's important when it comes to correcting and driving on the limit. Unfortunately, I haven't driven on the limit in this car, and I don't think I ever will because it is not my car. But I'll get back to you on that when you have.
I mean, I haven't gotten crazy to the limit, but I have noticed when you do get close, it starts to oversteer a little bit.
And that's what it's known for, you know.
But it handles really good. I like it a lot. The LSD in the front really pulls it around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if we go back to the engine, this has the same motor in it that was featured in the first gen, which came out in 2007. 263 horsepower in 2007 is insane. That's insane today. When you look at the newest GTI only having 240 and the Focus having 250, I mean, that's a pretty impressive number, especially for 2007. They got some great driving roads here, as you can see, with the I think this is a good time to talk about the turbo lag in this car. I've heard pretty bad things about the turbo lag in this car, but I mean, let's see how bad it really is. I mean, I drive an ST which has 0 turbo lag. I mean, let's see. That is not bad.
You're not even gunning it.
I'm not even gunning it. I want you, the viewer at home, to check out this turbo lag and tell me how bad it looks. Woo! Damn! This car pulls, holy sh... Okay, so that might be hard to pick up from home. The turbo lag, I mean, I will say it is there, and it's worse than like modern cars, but you gotta remember this is a budget yet extremely fun car from 2011, and that being said, it's not that bad. It's like maybe 1/4 of a second turbo lag, but in terms of fun factor, this car, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10 on fun factor. I mean, you hit the gas, you get a little bit of torque steer, and then the turbocharger really kicks in. Just the turbo lag and the torque steer in the Focus, for sure, I don't even notice. I think they did a really good job, and that's because it's electronically assisted. torque steer prevention, whereas this is a little bit more, this is a sick road. This is a little bit more analog. So what they did was in the first couple of gears, not only did they make them a little bit taller in order to decrease torque, but they also negated some turbo pressure in the first couple of gears in order to literally reduce torque. And I'm not gonna to do that, yeah. I'm not gonna say like completely eliminated it, because I definitely think if they went with another generation for this car, they could have, you know, put some electronic system in like the ST, where you literally don't feel torque steer in the ST. It doesn't even feel like a front wheel drive car.
They're like, add electronics to make it better? No, we'll just make it slower. That puts out less power. Really bad. But
dude, this road is gangster as hell.
I like this road a lot. I've never been here.
I think for a couple minutes, damn. I think for maybe a couple seconds here, I'm gonna let you guys just kind of enjoy some raw footage. But it is fun, let me tell you. I'm going like 50% throttle at max there, and you can see this thing pulls. The turbo kicks in right when it needs to. Not enough to send me off the cliff, but enough to give me some fun, if you know what I mean. If you are a car enthusiast, and even if you're not on a budget, but especially if you're on a budget, this is it. I would recommend this over anything else, because for me, it was a mission and a half to get a car in the price range that I wanted. For me, looking for a car like a Focus ST, and I got a 2013. I mean, mine's the oldest you could possibly get. Granted, I love it, which is a pretty similar model year to this, being a 2011. They actually ended production of these in 2013. So you could get a 2013 Focus when the 2013 Speed 3 was out. So I guess it's only fair to compare them at least a little bit. But, you know, considering that a 2013 Focus will cost me about $13,000, and that was extremely hard to find, versus this $9,200, and we're talking mint. I mean, this is middle of the road. You could find one easily for under $10,000, easily. And if you're willing to compromise on the looks, because this is a very clean example of a Speed 3, if you were able to compromise on the looks a little bit, you're looking at $7,000, $8,000 for a car, and you're getting a freaking beast.
The only thing that it's really missing is like heated seats and blind spot monitoring, because you could have got that, but it's super good for what it is.
The turbo lag's a little bit more pronounced when you're in a higher gear, which is to be expected, very much to be expected. But that is one thing that I would say I don't like about the car, is if you want to maintain your gas mileage and you're on roads like this, you're gonna have to drop a gear to go up those hills. To wrap up this video, I love this car. I think I've said that enough in this video. I think you guys get the idea. Definitely, if you're in the market for a first car, or just like a first cool car, honestly, I would recommend you pick one of these up. Pretty excited to show you guys the Focus video in the future, because that'll give a good example of like this versus that, and I can give you like my fresh opinions on the Ford Focus, which is something I really want to share with you guys, because I love that car. It was one of my dream cars. It delivers in power, it delivers in the fun factor, because let's be real here, you're not taking it to a racetrack, and if you are, you can tune it. But if you're just interested in driving this thing on the road, you can't go wrong for the price point. It looks awesome, it drives awesome, it looks unique, it drives unique. Everything about it's pretty damn unique. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Check out Frank's channel, Frank Shaft on YouTube. We have separate channels, but he typically goes a little bit more in depth in cars than I do. But yeah, if you liked it, please leave a like. If you really liked it, subscribe. Dislike it if you hate me. I would very much appreciate you don't do that. I'll do whatever you feel is needed. But if you do dislike the video, let me know in the comments why you didn't like it, and I can fix that in the future.